And it's been nonstop. Donald Trump cut through the other day and said, do not let the Ebola infected people come back. And of course, he was scorned. But I said, let's take a look at what Donald Trump is saying from a rational point of view. Why couldn't Emory University take the people that were going to treat them and the experimental drug, put the healthy people on a plane? Uh-oh, we lost him. I heard something happen in there. I heard that, didn't you? Let's see if we can get Bob back. And is it wrong to set up a regional, Oh, there he is. He's calling back in.
Right now.
No, he's in. There he is. I got you back. Great job. Great job of calling right back. All right, so, the idea being, why not set up a regional thing with the doctors from Emory, right, and the experimental drug, go to a regional safe area, how far you got to go to get to a decent facility, and set it up as the international place. We'll take 2 from this country, and start doing, instead of dragging them back here, which is, of course, putting the healthcare workers here. Now, Emory University, the whole staff has to worry about the towels, the this, the that, whatever you watch for. So isn't there wisdom there in set up a regional? It's got the miraculous response to the drug. Gets your attention, right? That these 2 people came back from the dead in one day.
Mm-hmm.
So what's your thought on that? Set it up regionally, or bring every case to Atlanta? What is it, Bob Bell, in your opinion?
I mean, look, there's got to be, the most important thing with this is there's got to be containment. Whether it's you're going to do the containment over there or here, you definitely, I mean, look, if you have American citizens, American workers, you want to help them as much as you possibly can. The real issue is going to come if there is, and that's the thing you're bringing up is what's going to happen if this thing really does spread. I mean, how are they going to deal with it? And that there is going to be, and this has already happened in a number of the African countries, is there are quarantines that are going on in certain places. Basically, if somebody gets sick, those houses are quarantined. I think they're sending in the army to a certain place. I can't remember exactly which one. And so that's the real issue, is that, the real thing is what's going to happen, because inevitably, I mean, it looks like from the people I've heard that there is going to be some sort of spread. Does that mean it's going to be a worldwide epidemic? Maybe not. But because of the plane travel, you're going to have people getting it.
Way to go. Way to say it. And that's right. And let me tell you something you might not have heard. A couple of doctors have said this, okay? This Ebola, each time there's an outbreak, you know this about viruses, it's not unique to Ebola. This is the story of any virus, the flu virus, the same thing. It toughens itself. It makes its way easier once it finds a path, whether it's sneezing, it could be in the droplets of whatever the path is. I'm not claiming to know the path, but a virus, once it finds a path, it starts to find 3 or 4. It starts to clone, you know what I mean? It does its thing. So this...
Right, it mutates.
That's what I'm saying.
It mutates.
That's
right.
It. So not knowing that, you must assume this is a more aggressive Ebola. This is the Ebola back at you a little bit stronger. It's going a little faster. The concentrations are higher. And all they say on television is, I don't like this TV reporting. They go, well, the cultural differences of the uses of water and sanitation, it's too vague. That's not going to help anybody understand what's going on. So I think you do have to say what behaviors specifically, draw a cartoon, say this is how it, but number 2, you have to assume it's more viral. What's your thought?
Yeah. I mean, look, the thing is, from what I've heard, you curtail it like any other virus. There's basically a hygiene element to it. But the reason they go in with the spacesuits and everything is if you do get it, we're talking about, 50 to 70% mortality rate. So you have, the real question is, and people haven't completely addressed this, is how, if a number of people got it, say there was an infection of like 10, 20 people in a specific place, it could happen. Somebody gets sick, this is how people have gotten sick. Somebody would break down at an airport, people would help them, and those people get sick. Well, you could have 10 or 15 people getting sick like that. Now, what's the multiplication factor associated with that? Well, Supposedly it's mainly blood fluids, which means that's good. It's not an airborne thing, but still you can have real problems, even with that. So
That's it. Very good. A doctor said just before you came on, literally to me, you might have heard him yourself if you were listening at this moment, that how he got it. He's recovered from Ebola years ago. So he's well recovered on another outbreak in the past. But he was interviewed, and he was talking about how he caught it. Now, this will tell you how virulent it is. I believe that's the right adjective, right? Virulent. He nicked himself with a scalpel. A nick.
Wow.
A nick. That is a very aggressive virus. That means if it gets contact, it's getting in. It's coming in hard to get you. So this needs to be told to people. This will demystify it. If you start putting diseases like this in terms of this behavior, and here's a thing, and this is much better than alarming people. And then here's my controversial angle, okay? How easy was this drug to stick in their arm, and how unapproved yet was it, and how long has the FDA had it? Is it possible? Is it possible that rich people still always get antidotes, and the reason people die from disease is because they're poor, not because we can't cure them? Ebola has not been an American problem, and if it were, we would have busted out this medicine a long time ago. But because somehow we're mixed up in it, we wrote a couple of waivers, hurried up a drug, and it worked like a miracle. Oh, okay. So the rich people always is that the real story about Ebola? It's a poverty.
Well, that's a real question. How much, right, this thing has been around for a while. They said they didn't get the waivers for, for approval. But, was it, and obviously there's also, a cash incentive to this too. People want to bring this drug out when they're going to, make the maximum possible money related to it in terms of selling it to governments or whatever. So, yeah, that's I'm sure that'll be on the fast track now after what's happened. But, that's a real question, which probably I'll never know the answer to.
Do you, remember Jodi Arias?
Jodi Arias. Yeah, no, I do remember her, but it's like it was a while ago.
She killed her boyfriend right after sex. Right. Do you stand where I think you do? You're anti-death penalty, or do you agree with it in some cases? You're against it in all?
No, I'm anti-death penalty. I mean, just because, I just think I think as a society we should, look, you can put somebody away for as long as you want, but yeah, no, I'm anti-death penalty.
She is going to represent herself in court during the penalty phase. The jury could not decide. They were split on her sentence. So she gets a separate hearing now on her sentence, okay, because they were deadlocked. Instead of having her lawyer do it, she's going to do it herself.
Mm-hmm.
Or is she right? She's going to look so sad and desperate, somebody's going to feel bad for her and not want to execute her. It is obviously in a state where they have execution in Arizona, so she's facing the death penalty. Do you think it's a smart move? And if she's smart, somebody will like her? Or is she going to wind up getting herself juiced because she didn't want to use her lawyer, and a lawyer would have, been calculated about how to wear them down? What do you think about her going for the personal sympathy?
I think, it's more possible that she could undermine herself than anything else. Just because, I've dealt with, if anybody who's gone to court and dealt with any sort of issue, no matter how minor or major, you realize that there's certain things you do and you don't do after you've gone through it. And, if she, basically her whole thing is like she's going to do, I guess, just like lay herself on the court and say, this is what I did, whatever. It might work in the sense that really, I guess you have to have everybody agree, right? And she could appeal to the one holdout, the one person who says, you know what, I just can't do it, whatever. But there's also a possibility she could make an incredible blunder, which she doesn't even know about. We could just say, all right, that's it. Look, she didn't, the way she presented herself, she looked uncaring. She seemed like she just wants to, save herself, but it seems too calculated. Look, she's not in a very good position to begin with, but yeah, if I was decided, I would say probably it'd be better to, maybe go with their defense.
Now, only one lawyer has gone into the media and said that he's used this strategy before, where he had a case where he had a very, compelling defendant, and they insisted. They said, I know under the Constitution, the judge always says, I encourage you not to do this. The court really looks down on this because it's a feel-good type of thing, but it doesn't give you the best legal defense. It just feels good for you to do it. They press on. All right, well, here's the thing. What's your guess? Would you guess that if you had to bet $5, you think this girl's going to get nailed? This is the one who said that she killed him after he was cheating on her, and he was mean to her, and he was spiteful to her, and she flew into a rage and killed him. He was having sex with other women, and he didn't care about her. He made love to her, and then he was nasty after they made love.
And he didn't attack her at all, right? He didn't attack her in any way. It was just a cheating thing.
It looked like this. I mean, she said she was attacked, but there was no wounds on her. And it happened in the shower. And he was dead on the floor, from the shower, naked. You know what I mean? So he looks like he got shot in the head. That's what he looks like at close range. And she says she did that only because he was infuriating. And I forget if she alleges a history of physical abuse. I don't know, because there's an absence of marks on her. I don't know if she claims that she was beaten that day, because when she got arrested, she was not marked up from a fight. And she did struggle with him. They did have a struggle, but she wasn't marked up like she took a beating. So I'll look into that as a refresher. But I think it's very possible in this crazy world that somebody will feel sympathy for how pathetic it is to be, in effect, pleading for your life. That's what I think. I think somebody is going to throw you. If 12 people watch you beg for your life, I think in today's world, 1 or 2 are going to throw you a bone. Because one or...
No, I think you might be right. And I think also there's another aspect where people on the jury, they have to obviously fill out questionnaires and say, all right, I do this and not that. They can have very strong feelings already about the death penalty. And on top of that, you have somebody who hits a chord. She gets up and hits a chord with them, and then you say, no, I can't do this. I can't vote for the death penalty. So there's that. There's also that aspect to it that, people might not be completely, if you're going to go in there, you have to and tell them, look, this is that's the way it is. Some people are, might have already a predisposition.
That's
toward,
true. That's true.
That.
I do think, though, the prosecution gets to exclude people that don't believe in it. Right, exactly. You do get to do that. I'd flip. Now, let me
agree with that.
Yeah.
They might not weed them out, though. That's what I'm saying. They might not.
Right. They may not exactly admit that they have the prejudice. Now, the case that we flip it to is the case of the guy who left his kid in the car. The kid dies, but the evidence is that this guy looked up what happens when you leave a kid in the car, how much does he suffer. In other words, it looks like he was planning to leave the kid in the car. This is what he's on trial for, not accident. He's on trial for, they found his websites that he was looking at. Why are you looking about your kid suffocating in a heated car, and then after you look it up, it happens? You know what I mean? That's pretty bad. Would you? What about a guy like that? Would you assume if he did this, if he plotted his own child's death, is he de facto insane? Or do you give this guy the death penalty, or what? What do you do with him if you're anti-death penalty?
It looks very damning, to do that. Unless he has another explanation, I can see a defense saying, look, I was always paranoid that this would happen. I was looking at the website. That was the case with, was it Pete Townsend? He said he was doing research on child pornography on the website, and they went after him, and I think he got a reduced sentence for it. But back, I don't know how many years ago it was. That could be a defense, but I think for the, this is pretty. I think it's pretty damning evidence.
You bring up an excellent case with that Townsend case. Now, this of course happened in Great Britain. So I don't know the technicalities of their law, but you are going to be hard pressed in America Google just had this case 2 days ago. They turned in somebody to the authorities who was putting illegal child material in their mailbox, in their Gmail. They were just accumulating it, and Google turned them in, and they got arrested. The feds came, took the computer, everything. In Britain, he was convicted of, like whatever he said he was doing, whatever he claimed. They said, well, that's still violating the law. Whatever his alibi, I think his research, whatever it was, they said, well, it's still wrong. You still collected it. You still kept it on your computer. It's wrong. Even if you had the right reasons, you didn't register as a researcher. You didn't go through an institute of research. You just went out there like some pervert, and it's wrong. In America, you'd be hard pressed to do that. Are you going to be able to tell somebody they can't look? In America, I don't know. I mean, I hope you can. You can't spy on somebody who doesn't know. But you're going to be hard pressed in America to get that kind of conviction. What is?
Yeah. Well, on top of that, you have the privacy laws too, which I don't know how far. I think I don't know how far it goes. Obviously, you have like lawyer-client privacy, but I don't know with Google.
Nothing. You have nothing.
I don't know exactly how it applies. But,
you don't have anything with that. With anything like law enforcement related, I believe Google can just pop you and turn you in. Which, in a way, I don't know. It's a good thing because you're innocent until proven guilty. You get your lawyer, and you don't want this stuff. You don't want this stuff in circulation. So even if it's not being used to commit a crime, it's still bad. I think you have to do something like that. You have a two-step process. What are you doing with that? And if the guy says, well, I said giving you some explanation, it's going to be, I don't care. There is no explanation unless you're, a criminologist. Very bad. But back to the guy who left the kid in the car. What if this guy deliberately left his kid in the car? Does that mean he's nuts? And is the child idiot porno guy, are they de facto nuts? Is that what this is? This is criminal insanity?
It's definitely. Well, I don't know if he's nuts. I mean, it's a matter of like whether he might not be nuts. He might have done it intentionally because he doesn't want the kid, which is horrible. But it might be completely calculated. So he's I mean, there's nuts where people do something. I don't know. Maybe there's not a distinction, but I mean, nuts in the extended sense of the word. Yeah, I'd say definitely.
Well, I mean, like criminally insane, where you'd put him in an insane asylum. But you wouldn't think about executing him because it's an insanity act. I don't know about that. Pure evil that makes you angry. Is that why you get to execute? I don't know. Very good point. Let me flip it back to President Obama's public opinion ratings as of today. Did you see the number that came out this morning? It came out about 8 o'clock this morning. New public opinion approval of President Obama. Which way do you think it went, and what do you think he's down to?
I know recently he was in the low 40s. I would, I don't know. I would think it's going lower.
He made it.
But I'm not sure.
He made it. He made very good. He made it to 4-0. He's
He was 4-2 when I saw it.
That's it. So he's pushing 4-0. He's about to break the threes. Congress is in the 30s. Congress is 35% approval. Two-thirds of the country cannot stand the Congress. What is the right move? If Obama is too liberal and he's in disapproval, and the Congress is too crazy Tea Party and their disapproval, am I correct, and William Buckley and others, it is good for us to be locked up? Because at least if the engine seizes like it does now, nothing gets done. At least there's no damage. If they have one of these crazy groups take over, we're going to wind up undoing what they do. Maybe even Obamacare gets undone. What's your theory on that? If the thing is divided, the American people are angry at both sides. Is nothing the best outcome? Maybe doing nothing is the best thing.
Well, nothing's the best outcome if there's nothing to do. The problem is there's a lot of issues that have to be dealt with, and because people are like lining up on each side, things